The small crowd that remained grew quiet, sensing the tension in the air. Kayla's heart raced. She had done it. She had asked. Now, she had to wait for the answer. Would he dismiss her? Would he laugh? Would he tell her that someone like her had no place in his world? For a long moment, there was silence. And then Musk spoke, his voice steady but with a hint of surprise. "I admire your courage," he said. "But you're asking for a job in a field that's not easy to break into. What makes you think you're ready for this?" Kayla felt a pang of doubt. She had prepared for this moment, but hearing those words made her question whether she was truly cut out for this. But before she could say anything, Musk continued. "Tell me your story. Where do you come from? What's your background?" Kayla began to speak, telling Musk about her struggles, the obstacles she had overcome, and the relentless drive that had brought her to this moment. She spoke of her dreams and the fire inside her that refused to be extinguished. As she spoke, she saw something change in Musk's expression. The skepticism that had marked his face faded, replaced by a sense of curiosity. He leaned in, listening more closely. By the time she finished, the room had fallen into complete silence. It was as if time had slowed down. She had bared her soul, and now all she could do was wait for his response. Would he brush her off, or would he give her a chance? And then, to Kayla's astonishment, Musk did something she never expected. He didn't reject her. Instead, he offered her something even more valuable, an opportunity to prove herself. "Kayla," Musk said, his voice serious, "I'm not going to promise you anything. But I can give you a chance to prove that you belong in this world. Come to Tesla. Show us what you're capable of. If you can prove yourself, we'll find a place for you." Kayla's heart skipped a beat. She had asked for help, and now, she had a chance. It wasn't a guarantee, but it was a door she never thought would open. This was her moment. And in that instant, everything in her life changed. As she left the stage, Kayla felt a surge of emotion. She had faced her fears, taken a leap of faith, and walked away with a chance to change her life forever. But this was just the beginning. What would happen next would depend on her courage, determination, and willingness to face the challenges ahead. She had asked for a chance, and now she had to prove that she was worthy of it. Kayla walked off the stage in a daze, her mind struggling to process what had just happened. She had taken a bold step, something that felt almost reckless in the moment. But now, as she stood at the edge of the crowd, waiting for the weight of what Musk had said to sink in, she felt the rush of exhilaration and doubt intertwining. She had been given an opportunity, but it wasn't a guarantee of success. She had simply been told that if she proved herself, she could earn her place in a world she never thought she'd be able to enter. Her hands trembled as she clutched the edge of her phone. She quickly checked the time. Musk's event was nearing its end, and the crowd had started to thin out. She'd gotten his attention, but now she needed to be more than just a face in the crowd. She had to think strategically. What came next? What was the plan? She had only one chance to make a lasting impression, and the feeling that she had to act fast was suffocating. Musk's words echoed in her mind, "Come to Tesla. Show us what you're capable of." The weight of the invitation settled on her like a mantle, and for a fleeting moment, she wondered if she was up to the task. She was just a girl from a small town, with no credentials or impressive resume to back her up. What made her think she could join one of the most innovative companies in the world? As the crowd began to disperse, Kayla spotted a few people approaching Musk, hoping to get their own moment in the spotlight. She knew that she didn't have much time before the moment faded into the background of the day's events. She took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. She couldn't afford to be intimidated now. Determined, she walked back toward the stage, looking for the small group of Musk's team members who had been accompanying him. They stood nearby, talking in hushed voices. One of them, a tall man with glasses, caught her eye and smiled warmly. He had been standing next to Musk earlier when she spoke to him, and his friendly demeanor made Kayla feel like maybe, just maybe, there was a place for her in this world. As she approached, she found herself suddenly unsure of what to say. She had imagined this moment, but now that it was real, she struggled to find the words. She was about to speak when the man with glasses nodded toward her. "You're the girl who spoke to Musk, right? The one who asked for a chance." Kayla swallowed hard. "Yes, that's me." Her voice was steady, but inside, she was trembling. The man extended his hand. "I'm Kyle. I work closely with Elon on several of the Tesla initiatives. He's interested in hearing more about your background and what makes you passionate about working in tech. It's not every day someone approaches him with that kind of bravery." Kayla shook his hand, still in disbelief. I just really want to be a part of something big. I want to be more than just a worker. I want to help create things that matter, things that change the world." Kyle nodded, impressed. "Elon's always looking for people with vision. The thing is, you're going to have to prove yourself. This is just the beginning. Don't think for a second that it's going to be easy, but if you're willing to learn, we'll give you the chance." A flutter of nerves spread through her stomach. Kayla had no idea what she was walking into. Would she be able to keep up? Was she even qualified to take on something of this magnitude? The self-doubt that had plagued her all her life now started to creep back in, but she shook it off. She had asked for this, and now she couldn't back down. "Thank you, Kyle. I won't let you down. I'll work harder than anyone you've ever seen," Kayla promised, feeling the fire of determination ignite within her. After a brief conversation with Kyle about next steps, Kayla was given a contact number for the Tesla recruitment team. She was told to send her information, her resume, if she could call it that, though it was more of a list of her limited experience and self-taught skills, and a short pitch about why she wanted to be a part of Musk's vision. It was a long shot, but this was the kind of chance that people spent their entire lives waiting for. She left the convention center feeling like she had just stepped into a different world. The bright lights and glamorous cars outside the venue now seemed like a distant dream. For a brief moment, she wondered if she had made a mistake. But then she thought about her mother, who had worked tirelessly to provide for Kayla and her siblings. She thought about the late nights when she sat with her laptop, teaching herself coding and robotics, knowing that no one around her would ever understand the dreams she held close. She had worked too hard to turn back now. That evening, Kayla sat at her kitchen table, typing up her pitch and resume. She knew it wasn't perfect, but she also knew that this was the best she could do. She hit send with a sense of finality. There was no turning back now. She had taken a leap, and now it was up to her to prove she was worth the chance. The next few days were a blur. Kayla threw herself into work at the local coffee shop and continued studying her robotics textbooks at night, trying to stay focused. But every moment, her mind kept returning to the same thought: what if she didn't get the call? What if this was all just a pipe dream? Days turned into weeks, and still, there was no response. Her inbox remained empty. With every passing day, doubt crept in a little more. Maybe Musk had been right when he told her that the field was too competitive, too difficult to break into. Maybe she wasn't cut out for this after all. Just when she was starting to lose hope, an email arrived. It was from the Tesla recruitment team. Kayla's hands shook as she opened it. The subject line read, "Next steps, opportunity with Tesla." She read through the email quickly, her heart pounding in her chest. They had reviewed her application and wanted to invite her for an interview. The interview would be challenging, designed to test not only her technical knowledge but also her ability to think on her feet. They told her to come prepared with her best ideas and a willingness to learn. There was no mention of a job offer, just the opportunity to prove herself. Kayla closed her eyes and took a deep breath. The opportunity was real, and this time, there would be no backing out. She had one chance, and she would make it count. Over the next few days, she prepared obsessively. She revisited every concept she had learned about robotics, about tech, about innovation. She studied Tesla's products and Musk's vision for the future. She knew that she was walking into a room full of people who had years of experience, far more than her. But she had something they didn't, an unshakable will and a drive that came from years of fighting to be seen. The day of the interview, she walked into Tesla's headquarters with a mixture of nerves and determination. She was no longer the small-town girl from Pine Hill who just dreamed of working in tech. She was someone who had earned this moment. And as she stood before the team, ready to show them what she was capable of, she knew that this was her shot. As the interview began, Kayla realized that this was just the beginning. No matter what happened next, she had already taken the first step toward a future she had always dreamed of. She was no longer waiting for life to hand her something. She was ready to take it. The days following Kayla's invitation to the Tesla interview felt like a blur. She hardly slept, her mind racing with thoughts of the challenge ahead. The pressure was immense. She had always been the kind of person who believed in working hard and making her own opportunities, but this was different. This was Tesla, a company that had revolutionized industries and changed the way the world viewed innovation. She had no fancy degree, no high-powered network to fall back on, only her raw determination and passion for technology. The night before her interview, she sat at her kitchen table, going over every detail of the company's history, its products, and Musk's vision for the future. She knew that she had to impress, not just with her knowledge but with her ability to think critically under pressure. As much as she had prepared, she still felt like she was walking into a room full of giants. Her heart raced, and her stomach churned at the thought of being surrounded by some of the best minds in the industry. But then, in a quiet moment, she remembered why she had come this far in the first place. This was her dream, her chance to prove that someone from a small town with limited resources could break through. The morning of the interview arrived, and Kayla could barely contain the nervous energy coursing through her. She dressed in her best clothes, a simple blouse and slacks, the most professional outfit she had in her wardrobe. It wasn't much, but it was all she had. As she stood in front of the mirror, adjusting her collar and straightening her hair, she tried to calm herself. This was her moment, and she wasn't going to let fear take it away from her. She had come too far to turn back now. When she arrived at Tesla's headquarters, she was in awe of the sleek, modern building that housed one of the most innovative companies in the world. The glass doors seemed to gleam with promise, and she felt a surge of excitement as she stepped through them. Inside, the space was bright and airy, filled with people who seemed so focused and efficient. As she walked through the lobby, she was struck by the buzz of activity around her, people brainstorming, discussing new projects, and carrying the kind of energy that only a place like Tesla could create. It was a world so different from the small coffee shop where she had worked just a few months ago, but somehow, she felt like she belonged here. A receptionist greeted her with a warm smile and directed her to a waiting area. Kayla sat down, her legs bouncing nervously as she waited for her name to be called. Her thoughts kept returning to the fact that she didn't have the pedigree most of the candidates in this room likely did. She didn't have years of experience at prestigious companies or a degree from an Ivy League school. But what she did have was grit, a determination to never back down from an opportunity, no matter how big it seemed. She had fought for this moment, and now it was up to her to make it count. As she waited, she couldn't help but notice the other candidates around her. They were dressed in business suits, their faces calm and collected. Many of them appeared to be in their late 20s or early 30s, with polished resumes and confident demeanors. Kayla felt out of place in comparison, but she refused to let that doubt creep in. She had a mission. She had a reason for being there. And she wasn't going to let anyone make her feel small. Finally, her name was called, and she followed the receptionist down a corridor lined with high-tech displays and sleek conference rooms. As they reached the interview room, Kayla's heart pounded in her chest. She could hear voices inside, and she took a deep breath before stepping into the room. The first thing she noticed was the impressive team seated around the large table. There were 3 people, 2 men and 1 woman, all dressed in business attire. They looked serious, but not unapproachable. One of the men, who appeared to be in his mid-30s, looked up from his tablet and smiled as Kayla entered. "Kayla, welcome. We're glad to have you here today," he said, gesturing for her to take a seat. Kayla nodded, trying to mask the nerves that were threatening to overtake her. She smiled, forcing herself to sit confidently as she faced them. The woman, who had sharp features and glasses, extended her hand to Kayla. "I'm Rachel," she said, "I'll be conducting the technical portion of the interview today. I'm excited to see what you bring to the table." The second man, who was a bit older with salt and pepper hair, introduced himself as Tom. "I'll be focusing on your problem-solving abilities," he said. "But first, let's hear a little about you, your background, your journey, and what motivated you to apply to Tesla." Kayla took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. This was the moment she had been waiting for, and she knew it would set the tone for the rest of the interview. "I'm from a small town called Pine Hill," she began, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I've always been fascinated by technology, but I never really had the resources to pursue it. My parents worked hard to support me, but I didn't come from a family with connections or wealth. I had to figure things out on my own." She paused for a moment, reflecting on the countless nights she had spent learning to code and experimenting with robotics on her own. "I taught myself to code and learned everything I could about robotics. I wanted to be part of something that mattered, something that could change the world. When I saw the work Tesla was doing, I knew this was where I needed to be. I'm not asking for an easy ride. I know I don't have the fancy degrees or big-name experience. But what I do have is a passion for learning and a relentless drive to succeed. I'm ready to do whatever it takes." The room fell silent for a moment. Kayla could feel the weight of their gaze, but she didn't flinch. She had said her piece, and now it was time to let her abilities speak for themselves. Rachel was the first to break the silence. "I admire your honesty," she said. "But passion isn't enough. We want to see how you approach real-world problems. Let's dive into some technical questions, and then we'll talk about how you handle challenges." Kayla nodded, feeling the heat of anticipation rise in her chest. She was ready for this. She had prepared for it. And no matter how difficult it got, she would not back down. The technical questions came fast and furious, each one testing her knowledge and her ability to think critically under pressure. But Kayla remained calm. She knew that she might not have all the answers, but she could always find a solution with the right mindset. At one point, Rachel asked her about the future of electric vehicles and their impact on sustainability. Kayla's eyes lit up as she spoke passionately about the need for innovation in the field, offering ideas for new technologies and how they could be integrated into Tesla's existing platforms. She explained how she had studied Tesla's powertrain systems and had her own ideas for improving battery efficiency, even though she knew it was a long shot. The interview went on for what felt like hours, and by the end, Kayla was exhausted but exhilarated. She had pushed herself beyond her limits, answering questions, offering solutions, and showing her true self. When the team finally wrapped up, they told her that they would need time to review all the candidates before making a decision. But there was no mistaking the look in their eyes. She had impressed them. Didn't know, but she had come this far, and she wasn't going to stop now. As she left the building, Kayla felt a mix of emotions: pride, relief, and anticipation. She had done everything she could, but now the wait began. Would they call her back? Would she be? The next few days felt like an eternity for Kayla. Every phone call or text message that buzzed on her phone made her heart leap in her chest, only to deflate when it turned out to be something trivial: a notification, a message from a friend, or an advertisement. She kept replaying the interview in her mind, analyzing every moment, trying to decipher whether she had said the right things or missed a crucial opportunity. The weight was unbearable. She tried to stay busy, focusing on her current job and her side projects, but her mind would always wander back to that room, that table, and the three faces that had been staring at her with such intensity. Had she impressed them enough? Was she too much of a risk? Her phone buzzed again, and this time, the number on the screen was unfamiliar. Her heart skipped a beat. She had been expecting this call, but now that it was here, she felt a surge of nervousness flood her system. She stared at the screen for a moment before answering. Hello? Kayla? This is Rachel from Tesla. We've reviewed your interview and would like to offer you a position with the company, Rachel's voice said, calm and professional. Kayla's breath caught in her throat. I got the job. She could barely believe the words she was hearing. Yes, congratulations. We were impressed with your skills, your passion, and your innovative thinking. We believe you're the right fit for our team, Rachel continued. We'd like to bring you on board as an intern to start, but there's a clear path forward for you here if you continue to perform at the level you've shown. How soon can you start? The words felt like a dream. Kayla could hardly speak for a moment, still processing the reality of the situation. She had done it. She had made it. She had won the job. I can start right away, she finally said, her voice shaking with excitement. Great. We'll send over the details in an email. I look forward to working with you, Rachel said before ending the call. Kayla stood there, frozen for a moment, the weight of the news sinking in. She had done it. She had gotten the job at Tesla. All her hard work, all her sacrifices, had led her to this moment. Her phone slipped from her hand, and she leaned against the kitchen counter, trying to steady herself. She wanted to scream, to jump up and down, but all she could do was breathe in deep, grounding breaths. She had earned it. She took a moment to reflect on the journey that had brought her here. It wasn't just the months of coding and studying, the long hours spent learning about the latest technological advancements, or the application process itself. It was everything that had come before, growing up in a small town where she had to fight for every opportunity, watching her parents struggle to make ends meet, and learning to depend on herself when no one else would. It was the days when she felt like giving up, the times when it seemed like her dreams were too far out of reach. But she had never given up. She had kept pushing, kept working, kept believing in herself. And now, she was about to walk through the doors of one of the most innovative companies in the world. A wave of gratitude washed over her as she sat down at the kitchen table. Her thoughts turned to her family. They had always supported her dreams, even when they didn't understand them. They had believed in her when she couldn't believe in herself. Her mom, especially, had sacrificed so much to make sure she had a chance to chase her dreams, even when money was tight. Kayla couldn't wait to call her and tell her the news. She picked up her phone and dialed her mom's number. It only rang once before her mom picked up. Kayla? What's going on, honey? You sound excited, her mom said, her voice filled with warmth. Mom. I got the job. I got the internship at Tesla. Kayla could barely contain her excitement, her voice cracking as she spoke. There was a long pause on the other end, and then her mom's voice cracked with emotion. You did? Oh, baby, I'm so proud of you. I knew you could do it. You've worked so hard for this. I'm beyond proud. Kayla's eyes filled with tears as she heard the pride in her mom's voice. I couldn't have done it without you, Mom. You've always believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. Sweetheart, you've always had it in you. I knew you could make it. I'm just so happy for you, her mom replied, her voice full of love and admiration. Kayla smiled through her tears, feeling the weight of all the sacrifices they had made to get to this point. This wasn't just her success, it was their success, too. She had made it, but they had helped her get there every step of the way. The next few days were a whirlwind as Kayla prepared to start her new job. She arranged her living situation, packed her bags, and made arrangements for the move to California. It felt surreal, like she was living in a dream. She had spent her whole life fighting for an opportunity like this, and now it was finally happening. But even as she packed up her life and made plans for the future, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was something bigger waiting for her. Tesla wasn't just any company, it was a place where she could make a real impact. It was a place where innovation and forward thinking were at the forefront of everything they did. She wasn't just there to be a cog in the machine, she was there to contribute, to challenge the status quo, and to be part of something that could change the world. As Kayla walked into Tesla's headquarters on her first day, she could feel the weight of the moment. She was no longer the hopeful applicant, waiting for her chance. She was now part of the team, part of something larger than herself. She took a deep breath, stood up straighter, and walked through the doors with confidence. It was time to get to work. But things weren't as easy as they seemed. The first few weeks at Tesla were a blur of new experiences, new challenges, and high expectations. Kayla quickly realized that she had to prove herself every single day. Tesla didn't play around when it came to innovation. Every decision, every project, every idea had to be backed by a deep understanding of technology, a relentless drive to improve, and an unwavering commitment to excellence. Kayla felt the weight of those expectations, but she didn't back down. Every challenge was an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to show the team what she was made of. She began working on a project that involved improving the efficiency of Tesla's battery technology, a task that seemed daunting at first. But Kayla dove into the problem with determination. She spent late nights in the lab, analyzing data, running simulations, and collaborating with her colleagues. At first, she struggled to keep up with the pace of the team. Her ideas weren't always perfect, and sometimes she felt like an outsider. But she refused to let those doubts define her. Slowly, but surely, her contribution started to make a difference. One day, her supervisor pulled her aside. "Kayla," he said, "I've been impressed with your progress. You've got a unique perspective, and your problem-solving skills are something we value here. I think you're ready for a bigger role on this project." Kayla could hardly believe what she was hearing. She had only been at Tesla for a few weeks, and now she was being trusted with a more significant responsibility. It was a huge step forward, and it filled her with pride. But it also filled her with an overwhelming sense of responsibility. This was her chance to prove herself, to show that she belonged at Tesla, that she was more than just an intern. She accepted the challenge with enthusiasm, diving headfirst into the work. And as the weeks went by, she continued to rise to the occasion. The team began to see her not just as an intern, but as a valuable contributor to their work. Her innovative ideas and unique approach to problem-solving earned her respect. But Kayla knew that this was just the beginning. There was still so much more to learn, so much more to prove. And she was ready. The impact of her work on the project started to show, and as the months passed, Kayla found herself becoming an integral part of the team. Her ideas helped lead to significant improvements in the battery technology, and her contributions were being recognized by some of the higher-ups in the company. But even as she reached new heights, she remained grounded. She knew that the real test was still ahead, the moment when she would have to prove herself in ways she never could have imagined. Tesla had given her the opportunity to chase her dreams, and now she was determined to show that she was worthy of it. The road ahead was filled with challenges, but Kayla knew one thing for sure: she was ready to face them head-on, just as she had always done. She was no longer the girl from a small town. She was a force to be reckoned with, and nothing could stand in her way. The journey from a hopeful intern to a valued team member at Tesla had been everything Kayla had dreamed of, and yet, in the stillness of the late nights spent in her lab, she often felt the weight of something more pressing than the work itself. It was more than just the late hours or the technical challenges, it was the knowledge that every step forward came with an invisible target on her back. She wasn't just trying to prove her worth to the company, she was trying to prove her worth to a world that often overlooked people like her. And it was exhausting. Tesla's world was a whirlwind of innovation, and with every success, Kayla felt a flicker of doubt, the deep fear that one misstep could bring it all crashing down. She'd come so far, overcome so many obstacles, but the pressure never seemed to ease. There was always a new problem to solve, a higher bar to reach. The recognition was nice, but it didn't stop the gnawing feeling that she had to keep proving herself, every single day. It was a Wednesday when the opportunity Kayla had been waiting for finally arrived. She had been working on a project aimed at refining Tesla's autonomous driving algorithms. It was one of the most ambitious projects in the company's history, and her team had made significant strides in making the system smarter, more reliable, and safer. But there was still a major roadblock, a glitch in the neural network that caused the algorithm to misinterpret certain driving conditions. It was a problem that had stumped some of the best engineers in the industry. But for Kayla, the solution had become an obsession. She'd spent hours poring over the code, analyzing every line, running countless simulations. There were moments when she felt completely lost, overwhelmed by the complexity of the issue. But then, one quiet afternoon, it clicked. She saw something no one else had. It was a tiny pattern hidden deep in the data that no one had noticed. It was a bug that had evaded detection by the most seasoned engineers at Tesla. But it wasn't a problem, it was an opportunity. She immediately called up her team. "I've found something. I think I can fix the issue with the neural network. Give me an hour, and I'll have a solution," she said, the words tumbling out of her mouth. With a sense of urgency she hadn't felt in weeks. Her colleagues weren't convinced at first. It was a huge claim, and after months of dead ends, they were all a little jaded. But Kayla had learned something over the past few months: if she wanted people to believe in her, she had to prove it. She couldn't just talk about the solution, she had to show them. She dove into the problem with an intensity that was almost obsessive. The world around her faded away as her fingers flew across the keyboard, coding and debugging, testing and retesting. The hours passed unnoticed, the night growing darker around her as she refused to step away from the screen. This was her moment. She knew it. Around midnight, she leaned back in her chair, eyes tired but focused. The algorithm was finally functioning the way it should. The glitch was gone. She couldn't contain the grin that spread across her face. She'd done it. She had solved the problem that no one else could. But the real test came next, the proof. Kayla called a meeting with her team to present the fix. She knew that this was the moment that would define her. She didn't need to say much, just show them the results. As she walked them through the changes she'd made and ran the new algorithm, the room fell silent. Her colleagues stared at the screens in disbelief as the system worked seamlessly, handling complex scenarios that had previously caused the neural network to fail. The improvement was dramatic, far beyond what they had hoped for. For the first time in months, Kayla felt like she had earned their respect, not just as an intern or a junior team member, but as an equal. The validation was sweet, but it was also bittersweet. She knew that no matter how much success she achieved, there would always be people who doubted her, who saw her as a token or an outsider. She had already proven herself to them, but the real test was yet to come. The following days were a blur of praise and recognition. Her work was making headlines inside the company. Her team leaders were clamoring to take credit for her success, but Kayla didn't mind. She knew that her work would speak for itself. She didn't need anyone's approval to know that she had done something incredible. She had made a mark at Tesla, but that wasn't the end of her story. As the weeks passed, the pressures of working at one of the most forward-thinking companies in the world began to mount. Tesla's culture was all about pushing boundaries, about thinking bigger, faster, and better. But for Kayla, the constant drive for more felt suffocating. There were moments when she questioned whether this was the place for her. She had dreamed of being part of something groundbreaking, but now that she was here, she was starting to wonder if it was all worth it. Was the stress, the pressure, the never-ending demands of innovation worth the cost? Then came the day that would change everything. It was an ordinary Thursday, and Kayla was deep into a new project when her phone buzzed. The name on the screen was one she recognized but hadn't expected to see: Elon Musk. She stared at the screen for a moment, wondering if she was imagining things. Elon was known for being unpredictable, but surely he wasn't calling her. He was a visionary, a man whose name was synonymous with groundbreaking achievements. Why would he want to speak to her? Her heart raced as she answered the call. "Hello? Kayla?" His voice was calm, but there was something behind it, something serious. "I've been following your work, and I have to say, I'm impressed. You've done something incredible with the autonomous driving algorithm. It's going to change everything. I'd like to talk to you about your future at Tesla." Kayla's mind raced. She could hardly process what was happening. Elon Musk, the man who had changed the world with Tesla, SpaceX, and his other ventures, was on the other end of the line, talking to her. I'm honored, Mr. Musk," she stammered. "I just did what I thought was right for the project." He laughed softly. "Don't sell yourself short. You've made a significant impact here, and I think you're ready for a new challenge. I'd like you to consider leading one of our most important initiatives in the company. What do you think?" The room seemed to spin. Kayla couldn't believe what she was hearing. Led an initiative? At Tesla? It was beyond anything she had imagined. Her mind raced, but the answer was simple. "Yes. I'm ready." It was an offer that would change her life, and as she hung up the phone, Kayla felt a sense of certainty settle over her. She had done it. She had made it. It wasn't just the job, the recognition, or the praise, it was the chance to truly make a difference. And with this opportunity, she knew that the road ahead would be even more challenging, more rewarding, and more transformative than she had ever imagined. But for the first time in a long time, Kayla felt ready. She wasn't just here to fit in, she was here to lead. And nothing, no one, would stop her from taking her place among the greats. She had earned it. Kayla sat in the quiet of her office, the weight of the decision still sinking in. She had come a long way from the uncertain intern who had first stepped into Tesla's sleek headquarters, her dreams seeming so distant back then. Now, she was being entrusted with a project that could redefine Tesla's future. It was a monumental responsibility, but the more she thought about it, the more she realized this was the moment that would prove her worth, not just to Elon Musk and her colleagues, but to herself. It was a Thursday afternoon when Kayla received her first major challenge in her new role. She was called into a meeting with Elon Musk and a few of Tesla's senior leaders to discuss the next big step in autonomous vehicle technology. The company had long been at the forefront of self-driving innovation, but Elon had always pushed for more, faster, smarter, and safer systems. The project she had inherited was nothing short of revolutionary, creating an AI-driven system that would make driving not just autonomous, but fully intuitive. A car that didn't just follow the rules of the road, but anticipated the behavior of other drivers, pedestrians, and the environment in real time. Kayla knew the stakes were high. If Tesla succeeded in this venture, they would solidify their position as the leading innovator in autonomous driving. But the challenges were monumental. The project was far more complicated than any algorithm she had worked on before. It was a step beyond what even Elon had anticipated, involving AI models that could process not just static road conditions, but dynamic and ever-changing real-world scenarios. There was a lot of pressure to get it right, and that pressure was building fast. As she walked into the meeting, she was greeted by the sharp, calculating eyes of Elon and the other senior engineers who had gathered. The room was filled with a sense of urgency that Kayla immediately felt in her gut. Everyone was eager to hear her thoughts, eager to know how she would tackle this unprecedented challenge. Elon wasted no time. "Kayla, you've made a big impact already. We're putting a lot of faith in you to take this project to the next level. What's your approach?" His voice was calm, but there was a steeliness behind it. He expected answers, and he expected results. Kayla took a deep breath. This was her chance to show that she wasn't just a product of good luck or timing. She was a force to be reckoned with. She laid out her plan, her mind racing as she spoke. It involved a combination of deep reinforcement learning and unsupervised learning models to ensure that the system could constantly adapt and learn from the driving environment in real time. It was ambitious, but it was the only way to make the system as intuitive as it needed to be. Elon listened intently, his hands steepled together as he absorbed every word. There was no sign of approval or disapproval on his face, but Kayla could see the wheels turning in his mind. She had presented a challenge, now it was his turn to challenge her back. "I like it," Elon said, his voice unwavering. "But you're not thinking big enough. We need to make this system smarter than anything out there. It has to be able to predict human behavior, not just react to it. And it needs to do this without taking forever to process. We're talking real time, Kayla." The challenge was clear. Kayla had to design a system that could not only learn from the road but anticipate human actions before they even happened. A tall order for any AI, let alone one that had to work flawlessly under the pressure of real-world conditions. The team went back to work immediately, each member of the group contributing their expertise. Kayla, however, found herself struggling with a sense of isolation. The hours were long, and the work was grueling. Her mind, once focused and sharp, now felt clouded by the sheer complexity of the task at hand. The more she tried to refine the system, the more problems she encountered. One error led to another, and soon, she found herself trapped in a cycle of setbacks. Late one night, after hours of fruitless attempts to improve the algorithm, Kayla stood up and walked to the window of her office. She looked out over the sprawling Tesla campus, the lights of the factory shimmering in the distance. It was in moments like this that she found herself questioning everything. She had fought so hard to get here. She had sacrificed so much, her time, her energy, her peace of mind. Was it all worth it? Was it even possible to reach the level of innovation that Elon demanded? As she stood there, lost in her thoughts, her phone buzzed on her desk. It was a message from Elon Musk himself. "Come meet me in my office tomorrow morning. I think we need to talk about your progress." Kayla felt a tight knot form in her stomach. She knew this conversation wasn't going to be a simple check-in. It was going to be the turning point. If she failed to impress Elon, it might mean the end of her career at Tesla. If she succeeded, it could open doors to opportunities she couldn't yet fathom. The next morning, she arrived early at Elon's office, her nerves on edge. When she entered, Elon was already there, waiting. He didn't waste any time. "Kayla," he began, "I've been thinking about the direction you're going with the autonomous system. It's great work, but we need more." His eyes were piercing, his voice commanding. "You're holding back. You have the potential to change everything, but you're playing it safe. And that's not going to work here." Kayla's heart pounded in her chest. She had been giving her all, but somehow, it wasn't enough. Elon's words stung, but they also ignited something within her. She was at a crossroads. She could either back down, accept defeat, and walk away, or she could dig deeper, push harder, and prove to herself, and to Elon, that she could deliver. "I understand," Kayla said, her voice steady despite the whirlwind inside her. "I'll take a different approach." Elon leaned forward, his expression softening just a bit. "I know you will. Because you're not just a problem solver, Kayla. You're a creator. I believe in you. Now, let's see how you can change the game. And that was the moment everything shifted for Kayla. It wasn't just about the project anymore. It wasn't about proving herself to Elon or the team. It was about her belief in herself, her ability to think bigger, to break the mold, to innovate in ways no one had ever imagined. With renewed focus and determination, she set to work on an entirely new approach, a new way to design AI that would not just adapt, but evolve in real time, learning from its mistakes and constantly improving. The next few weeks were a blur of late nights and tireless work. Kayla pushed her limits, creating an entirely new algorithm that broke free from the constraints of traditional AI models. It was risky, unconventional, and perhaps even a little bit crazy, but it was her vision, and she was determined to see it through. When she finally presented the new system to Elon and the team, there was a palpable sense of anticipation in the room. This time, it was different. Kayla wasn't just offering a solution, she was offering a revolution. And when the system worked flawlessly, predicting human behavior and adjusting to real-world scenarios with unprecedented accuracy, the room erupted in applause. Elon stood, a rare smile on his face. "You did it, Kayla. This is exactly what Tesla needed. You've proven yourself, not just to me, but to the world. You're ready to lead." Kayla had done it. She had risen to the challenge, exceeded every expectation, and proven that she was not just a cog in the machine but a force of innovation in her own right. As she stood there, accepting the praise and recognition, she realized that her journey had only just begun. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time in her life, she knew that she was ready to face whatever came next. She wasn't just a part of the future, she was helping to create it. And that, she realized, was worth everything.